Hello there! Nice to see you again. Welcome back to another episode of Skeeter's Travels. I'm Skeeter, Skeet for short. For today's adventure, we're going to be visiting the largest national park outside of Alaska. This park is over 3.4 million acres. It is so big that you can fit the state of Rhode Island in it 139 times, Delaware 92 times, Connecticut 21 times, New Jersey 17 times, or New Hampshire 14 times. Can you guess which park it is? Here's another clue. This park has the highest recorded temperature in the world. It measured 134 degrees Fahrenheit back in July of 1913. Last clue. This is the driest place in the US. So dry that back in 1929, they didn't measure even a single drop of rain. If you guessed Death Valley National Park, then you were right. Welcome to Death Valley National Park on the border of California and Nevada. Our first stop along the way is the Visitor Center. Here, you can fill up on water, a big necessity in a desert like this. You can also speak to a park ranger about all the things there are to do in the park. Yes, you can do that online, but what better way to really know what to do here than to talk to someone who experiences it firsthand as part of their day-to-day lives. They will usually give you a neat little map, and they will help recommend trails according to your skill and ability level. There are tons of hiking trails out here, a trail for every experience level. They range from easy quarter-mile trails to longer 30-mile trails. No matter which hike you choose to do, even if you're just getting in and out of your car, make sure that you consume plenty of water and you consume the appropriate amount of nutritious snacks. The first hike we are doing is the 6-mile out and back Fall Canyon hike. This trail follows a dried out wash through a canyon and gives you spectacular views of these towering canyon walls. It also features some amazing views of the valley. Now we are on the Ubehebe Crater Trail. It is a 1.5-mile loop all around this volcano that exploded 2,100 years ago. It is about half a mile in diameter, and depending on where you're standing, it is between 500 and 777 feet deep. The park's trail guide recommended this trail for the afternoon. The sun hits it at an angle just right to where it really maximizes the color of not only the crater, but of also the mountains back there in the distance. The Ubehebe crater is not the only crater that's out here. There are 70 others similar to this in the area. Right next to this one though is the Little Ubehebe crater. This is the driest place in the US. So dry that in one year, 1929, they didn't measure a single drop of precipitation here. Today's a little bit different though. We have a storm front coming through. Yesterday it was insanely windy, and then today partly cloudy with showers off in the distance. If you look really carefully, you can see patches of yellow and neon green. Those are desert flowers in bloom. There are over 1,000 species of plants out here in Death Valley National Park, 50 of which are unique to this park. Like the idea of seeing the crater but don't want to do a 1.5-mile loop? You can park in the parking lot and see it from there. For our next hike, we are doing the Mesquite Flat sand dunes. This hike can be as short or as long as you want it to be. There's no actual trail, you just walk. It is called Mesquite Flat sand dunes because of all of the mesquite bushes that you see out here. These mesquite bushes grow larger here in the sand dunes than they do anywhere else in the park. And that's because their branches have to constantly stay above the sand or else the plant won't survive. What's that you say? You can't see the mesquite bushes? Well, no, duh, it's dark out here. We're not out here just for a hike. We're actually out here because this is one of the best places to watch the sunrise. It really is the perfect spot. As the sun comes up over the ridge over there, it lights up these dunes. And what's also great is the sun is hitting one side of the dune, but not the other. So you get this wonderful contrast of bright light versus dark light, and it is just a spectacular sight to behold. This is the mesquite bush I was talking about. Throughout the rest of the park, they hardly ever get higher than waist height. Here, it's a lot bigger than I am. The roots of this mesquite bush hold the soil together, creates a great environment for animals such as the kangaroo rat to dig and burrow and not have to worry about the burrow collapsing. This mesquite bush has this beautiful yellow flower. Doesn't really have a sweet smell, but it has a really nice, fresh, clean smell. And the bumblebees love it. I am surrounded by tons of them. If you prefer to visit the park through your automobile instead of hiking, this is one of the many points you can stop at. This is the Father Crawley Vista Point for Rainbow Canyon. Father Crawley was a Catholic priest that traveled here in the 1930s between Lone Pine, California and Death Valley, and this is one of the stops that he would frequently pause at to admire the views. For a wider view, you can head a quarter-mile down that way, either driving or by foot, to get to the Padre Lookout. It too is named after Father Crawley. They called him Padre Desert. This is also supposed to be one of the best spots in the park to watch the sunset, because as the sun goes down, it's supposed to light up the colors here in Rainbow Canyon. It's also a prime spot to watch the Air Force practicing different maneuvers. You can hear them in the background. They're not getting close right now, but as I was driving down this dirt road, they were like this far from my face. Not really that close, but you get the idea. Also, this valley that you're seeing in there, that's not the main part of Death Valley. We still have to go through that huge mountain ridge to get to the main area of the park. You can take the beautiful drive to the top of Dante's Ridge and get a beautiful view of the Badwater Basin. This is also a perfect spot to watch the sunrise and to watch the sunset. No matter what kind of activity you do, whether you're driving out to go find some great hiking spots or you're doing scenic tours through your vehicle, that this park is huge. It is so big that there's not only one gas station, not two, but 3 gas stations, and I've already had to fill up a few times. So keep an eye on your gas gauge and don't run out of gas. Another must-see location that you can get to by car and not have to do any hiking is the Artist Palette. It is an 8-mile loop with little stops along the way to get out and take your pictures that passes you through this amazingly colorful mountainous area. It is especially brilliant right now as we are approaching the golden hour of sunset. I highly recommend doing the drive, stopping along the way, and getting some pictures. Another drive up spot with a little bit of hiking is Badwater Basin. We are 282 feet below sea level, the lowest point in North America. You can either stand there in the parking lot and enjoy the view, or you can take off your shoes and walk barefoot along the salt flats. Even though the part I'm walking on barefoot is nice and smooth, not all of it is. As the salt crystallizes, it becomes just that, crystals, jagged crystals, and it's not something you really want to be walking barefoot on. This right here is the reason I chose to come to Death Valley when I did. It's because of the water. It is rare that there is that much water here. Just a few weeks ago, that water was so deep that you could even bring a kayak in it. I know that doesn't sound very deep, but considering where we're at, it's pretty dang deep. There is 282 square miles of salt flats here. That's one of the biggest salt flats in the world. The chemical makeup of this salt water is predominantly sodium chloride, the salt that you put on your table food. And the rest of it is a little bit of borax and a little bit of gypsum. If you think the conditions in this park are harsh and you're like, no way I'm visiting that place in the summer, there is an ultra marathon that takes place here. It's called the Badwater 135. It is the most difficult foot race in the entire world. Every July, right at the peak of summer, a group of crazy people start the ultra marathon here at Badwater and run 135 miles out the park, over the mountains over there, down this side of the mountain, along this really long road, and then finally up Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the lower 48. As fun as that sounds, I don't think I'll be doing that race. There was this super awesome girl when I drove up and she saw the GoPro on the hood of my car. She gave it this little peace sign. She also took this picture of me on the salt flats, and I like it. This sunset does not disappoint. It is spectacular. spectacular. I know I use that word a lot, but I don't know of any other way to describe it. But we've got the far end of the valley over there. We've got mountains on either side. We've got water here in the salt basin. And then we have those clouds up there that are just reaching out, trying to touch all of it. And oh, it's so beautiful. It is super hard to see because we're so far away, but there's a little itty bitty sign on the mountain over there. And for reference, that sign right there is the elevation of sea level. We are that far under sea level. This is the Dante's Ridge hike. It is a 9-mile out and back hike. I had this whole entire joke planned out in my head. I was going to start the video in the dark before the sun came up, and I was gonna say I was afraid of heights. That's why I was hiking it in the dark, because you can't see the cliffs. I woke up on time this morning. It's just I laid there in bed. It is so uncomfortable sleeping in the back of an SUV. Got windy and cold, so I had to shut the tailgate. Pretty much cramped up in the fetal position, and I was on an incline, so I kept sliding to the back of the car, and it just was not comfortable. So when I woke up and it was time to leave, I just couldn't get myself to move. I got myself up here just in time for the sunrise. I'm up at about 5,700 feet above sea level, and it is really, really cold. That's okay, because sunrise, beautiful. This sunrise is going down as one of the best sunrises I've ever seen. The sun is coming up over there, and you can just see rows and rows and rows of mountains. And then as it's coming up, and we're looking behind us at the Badwater Basin area, the sun is starting to touch the top of the mountains that are snow-capped, and the light is working its way down to the basin where there's water, which is giving us just an incredible view, a unique experience, because Badwater Basin isn't always full of water, because, you know, we're in the driest place in the US. Made it to our turnaround point. We are 4.5 miles in, and the views they stayed like this the whole time. It is one of the most awe-inspiring hikes I've ever done. And what's great about it is you get this view here, and you get this view over there. It's just fantastic. One of my favorite things that people always say is, be safe out there. Well, yeah, I'm not out here intentionally trying to get hurt. Of course I'm being safe. It's just a polite thing to say. I say it to people all the time too. I just think it's kind of funny. Let's head back to the car. I'm just a quarter of a mile from the car now, and I wanted to take one last look at this awesome valley. That peak over there, that is just what we hiked to. We went up and down, 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 until we got over there. Don't believe me? Here is the GPS tracking information for the hike to prove that I did do it. This is another site that you can just drive up to and take a short, easy walk around to learn about the most valuable and productive resource that they were able to extract from Death Valley. This mill was formed in 1882 and ran for 5 years. This isn't really the mine. They mined the borax from the salt flats. It was too costly to transport the borax and the mud and everything that was trapped with it during the mining process out of the valley, so they processed it here in these mills, and then they loaded it on these carts weighing up to 36 tons and then hauled it out with a 20-mule team. That is why the borax industry is known by the 20-mule team. There's another drive that you can take. It's called the 20-mule canyon. It is about an 8-mile dirt drive through this beautiful canyon, and it shows you what it would have been like back in the 1800s, early 1900s, when mining was an active industry here. Now, the mules didn't actually travel on this road, even though it's called the 20-mule team, but it still gives you insight into how difficult it would have been to cross the terrain in something like this. In the summer, temperatures can reach well above 120 degrees. Usually, the average at night is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't really get much time to cool off. And that is why this borax processing mill shut down in the summer. It wasn't because they cared about their predominantly Chinese workers that they were abusing. It was because borax does not crystallize above 120 degrees. Borax wasn't the only thing mined here in Death Valley. Gold was also mined, though gold operations weren't very successful. This one, however, the Keane Wonder Mine, was extremely successful. Jack Keane discovered this gold mine in 1903 by accident. They had to find a way to get the gold from these mines 1,700 feet down to the valley floor. And the way they did it was ingenious. The gold would travel from the mine, get dumped into the holding container. The gold would then gather up in there and then come out these chutes here at the bottom. Under those chutes, there would be a cart like this. That cart would be hanging from one of these bars. That cart would then transfer on these cables where it would have a 1 mile journey, 1,700 feet down to the valley floor. In its heyday, this whole system was transferring 70 tons of ore a day. To get up here, I had to hike 1.6 miles with an elevation gain of 1,600 feet. I wish the tramway was still working because that would have been a nice way to get up and down. It's getting so hot out here that I'm having to change out my pants for some shorts. The color is called fresh lichen. Anyway, this trail that we are on now is the Golden Canyon Trail. You can do a quick trip just up and out, or you can connect with other trails like the Gulch Canyon or the Zabriskie Trail and make it much longer. I'm pretty worn out, so we'll just kind of take it step by step. This trail seems to be one of the more popular ones. There are a ton of people out here, and I like the harder, more difficult ones where there are far and few people. The trail isn't bad though, and I get why it's so crowded. It's a very easy trail to walk on. We're a mile in and we have hit the end of the Gold Canyon hike. So we can either turn around, we can go to the Red Cathedral, or we can go to Zabriskie Point. Let's go to Red Cathedral first. The Red Cathedral are those red mountains right there that with erosion have formed these column shapes that make it look like a cathedral towering over the Badland. Red Cathedral, it's pretty awesome. Worth the extra half a mile to get up there. You get to go through these really narrow areas of the Badlands and then Red Rock. Way cool. Let's head back to the trail sign to see which direction we want to go next. I can either head back to the car 1 mile that way, or I can do a complete loop and it'll take me 3 more miles. I'm not sure I really have time for that. Let's just go up a little ways and see what it looks like. This trail is worth it. This is really, really, really neat. Just look at how it winds through these narrow little passages in the Badlands. View is still looking pretty dang good. We have now entered the Gower Gulch. This section is super awesome because we've gone from the white drab mud Badlands to this rocky area, which is still Badlands, but there's a little more color to it and it is quite beautiful. This section of trail is also super cool because we've entered into some narrows. We made it back to the parking lot. That was a wonderful 5-mile hike through Golden Canyon to Zabriskie Trail to the Gower Gulch. This trail was a pleasant surprise. I was not planning on doing it because the description just didn't sound that great. I had planned to do some other trails but decided against it because they were so far away. Zabriskie Point is another spot where you can drive to the parking lot, take a very short hike to get a wonderful view of the Badlands area. Death Valley gets its name from some pioneers traveling from Utah on the way to California during the gold rush. Records show that only one person died in that party, but as they were leaving, one of the pioneers looks back and says, "This valley will be the death of me." I think the name does the park a disservice. I don't know what else I would call it. Colorful mountains, colorful hills, awesome desert. Come out of your way to get here and experience it. Don't come in the summer. Pick a nice time. Spring is a really good time because you get to see it in bloom and you get some really nice weather. Thank you for joining me on this adventure, and thank you for taking the time to build some memories with me. It was a pleasure having you here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next adventure.